Good afternoon, class. I'm Mr. Newman, and today we're going to be talking about mental health. So, our first question for our class is, what is mental health? So, would anybody like to share with me their definition of what they think mental health is?
So I guess, in my opinion, I would say that your mental health could be suffering if you have a mental illness, and maybe the better care you take for yourself, you'd have better mental health. Something along those lines.
That is a great answer, Morgan. I like what you have, but just to build off of that, here is the textbook definition. It includes an individual's psychological, emotional, and social well-being. So, that is mental health. Would anybody like to tell me? So here's how mental health can affect you. It can affect the way you handle stress, your emotions, how you perceive or deal with the world around you, your interactions with others, like family and friends. It can affect your decision-making skills, and that mental health can happen at any stage in life. It can happen in childhood, adolescence, or adulthood. So now would anybody in the class like to share with me what is mental illness?
It's like a mental disorder, for example, schizophrenia, something like that.
That is a great answer, Morgan. Just to build off of that as well, mental illness is a serious disorder that can affect the way that a person thinks, how their mood is, and how they behave amongst with others. It can either be occasional or long-lasting, and it is very common. It is actually that about half of Americans in the world will be diagnosed with some type of mental illness throughout their lifetime, whether it be depression, anxiety, or personality disorder, anything of those with such natures. So, another question for the class. How do mental health and mental illnesses relate to each other? Would anybody like to share their example or a reason why they believe that these two things go hand in hand?
So I guess, in my opinion, I would say that your mental health could be suffering if you have a mental illness, and maybe the better care you take for yourself, you'd have better mental health. Something along those lines.
That's a great answer, Morgan. But just to go off of that as well, mental illness, like you said, is how an individual's social, emotional, and psychological well-being, and how mental illness is a serious disorder that affects the way a person thinks, their mood, and behavior. So, mental illness can affect your social, your psychological, and emotional well-being. So, if you have a mental illness, you put your mental health at risk, and that can cause some issues. So, here are some. Can anybody tell me any types of mental illnesses that they know of?
So I think before I actually mentioned schizophrenia. Maybe a common one might be ADHD, but I'm not sure about other ones.
I like what you said, Morgan. Here is actually a list of all the types of mental illnesses, and stress being very prominent amongst teens because of school workload or the amount of homework you have after school. Having to juggle that schoolwork and possibly having a job to help support your family can cause you stress. Some types of family issues, like a broken home or just your parents being set up, things of those natures, can cause you to have stress. Sports can cause you to have stress because if you want to perform at your best and everybody's pushing you, saying you're not doing your best, it may cause you stress. So you have to remember that just to try your best. And those are some of the ways that stress can affect your life. Another thing that is very prominent amongst teens is anxiety disorder. It is a disorder that is responding to certain objects or situations with a fear and death or terror type feel behind it. So someone who may have anxiety with just being in crowds because they're so closed in, they may feel like that they don't have a way out and things like that nature, or they hear loud sounds and it triggers a thing in their mind that they think that something bad is actually happening to them. Another thing that's very prominent amongst children and teens, and is usually found out during these ages, is ADHD, which is a attention deficit hyperactive disorder. It causes someone with this disease to have serious trouble paying attention, controlling behavior that they have, and things of those natures. You can either be very hyper or hypo. So you could be at a high where you're constantly having trouble trying to focus down on one thing because you're picking up on everything, or you have hypo where you channel in on one thing and you don't notice everything else around you because you're so focused on that one thing. So it's either end of the spectrum, either or. Another thing that's very big amongst teens is depression. This is due to possibly types of things like bullying and peer pressure where you feel like you have to isolate yourself and push yourself away from people, and it causes you to have these mood swings or these mood developments where you don't think positively about the situations or yourself, so you kind of go into a depressive state and you kind of isolate yourself and go into a lonely area. Another thing that is very big amongst teens is a eating disorder. Now, eating disorders is when someone is either obsessed or sometimes distressed thoughts or behaviors which include around the food that you eat. It can involve having a reduced intake of food, overeating. You have feeling of depression or distress around eating, and you have very big concerns about your weight, your body shape, your self-image. And common types of eating disorders include anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating. So those are just a few of the ones that are most prominent amongst teens. The other few are personality disorders, substance use disorders, PTSD, schizophrenia, disruptive behaviors, and things of those such. Now, how common are these mental illnesses amongst Americans? So 1 in every 5 Americans will experience a mental illness in a given year. And 1 in every 5 children have had serious debilitating mental illnesses throughout their life. And 1 in every 25 Americans live with a serious mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or any major depression, anxiety, and types of stress. So now, does anybody want to tell me what can cause you to have poor mental health?
I think maybe your daily routines could possibly cause poor mental health if you're like constantly inside and you're just like not talking to anybody. Maybe you might feel like down in the dumps, but maybe if you're like out and about and trying to stay active, it might be better for your mental health.
Yes, Morgan, that is one way you can have poor mental health, but there are some other things as well. So one of them would be having an early adverse trauma or history of abuse in your life. So like something like child abuse, or dealing with some kind of trauma like as a car accident, losing a loved one, being involved in a serious thing like a school shooting or any type of gang violence related things for people who live in lower income areas. And we might have things of trauma due to weather storms like hurricanes or tornadoes and things of that nature. Another way that you can get, another cause for mental illness can be a chronic medical condition such as cancer, diabetes, things of those natures. Biological factors like getting these certain disorders through genetics from a relative. The use of alcohol and recreational drugs can exacerbate or speed up the process of certain mental illnesses. So if it could have came at you later on in life, but if you at an early age start drinking and doing drugs, it can happen much sooner than later. Having very few friends and feeling very lonely and isolating yourself. So people who have not many friends may feel that they don't have someone to go to or talk to about their situations or types of problems that they may have. So they may have lots of depression or anxiety when going to talk about people, or just not even interacting with people at all. So what is some ways that you can improve, or why is mental health important and how it can help you as a person? So it can help with ways that you cope with all these things of stress, being physically healthy. It helps you build bigger and stronger relationships with family and friends. You can make meaningful connections with your community and your school community as well, and outside community. It makes you a more productive worker in school, out of school, and at work. And it helps you realize that you have full potential to grow and expand and to become a better person overall. So, does anybody want to tell me any ways that they do or know how that you can improve your mental health? Yes, Morgan.
I know I do yoga a few times a week, and I'm I'm also an artist, so I think drawing is therapeutic in a way. So that's how I try to keep in mind what I'm feeling, and I'm able to put it down on a paper and express myself in like a safe outlet. And that's how I kind of keep myself in check.
That is a great answer, Morgan. Physical activity is the best way that I feel to improve your mental health because it releases endorphins, it makes you feel better about yourself overall, and it kind of lets you sweat out all your toxins. Another way is staying positive. You always have to have a positive mindset. You want to look at the world as a glass half full, not half empty. You want to find a positive in everything. You may have lost your job, but now you have more time to do activities and hobbies that you didn't have before. So you have to kind of find the positive in certain things. Other ways that you can improve your mental health is by connecting with others, whether it be your peers around you, your family at home, reconnecting with your parents, friends that you haven't talked to in a long time, with your cousins or aunts and uncles that you haven't seen in a while who may live in another state. Other ways that you can improve your mental health is by developing and kind of creating a purpose of life. So creating a checklist or a goal list that you can write down your goals that you want to complete in a certain amount of time, and then as you complete those goals, you go back and you cross them off, and you keep adding new goals to that, so that you always have some type of purpose in life, so that you keep building on those. Definitely getting enough sleep. You want to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It is recommended that you get 8, but 7 is just as good. You don't want to get anything less because then your body doesn't get the full benefit of the power of sleeping. Meditating is a good thing to do, doing yoga, going for walks, just sitting outside, enjoying nature and just in the peace and quiet, letting your brain rest and not letting anything in to harm you or anything like that. You can draw, play some music, laying in your bed. These are all ways that you can kind of meditate. It is important to develop coping skills so that if you have any stress or any anxiety in your life, you know how to deal with it. It's good to keep a journal where you can write down things that cause you stress and maybe things that cause you anxiety, so that you know better when you notice them, that you have a way to improve on it, and then you can battle it better with your coping skills. So have like a little action plan if you need help by creating a journal. That's a good idea. And the last thing that is probably the most important is don't be afraid to get professional help. They are there for you. They are important to realize that they're not just there to put you down or just sit there and listen to your things. They actually are there to help. It is best to go to professionals though. Don't just go to anybody that's sitting around you. It's good to find like someone you trust, like a psychiatrist, a therapist, a guidance counselor, even a teacher that you trust, so they can get you the help that you actually need, and they actually help you get through all your mental issues and things like that. So what are some warning signs and symptoms of mental health? Well, the first one that we have on this list right here is eating and sleeping too much or too little. So this is either that they're not getting enough sleep at night, like they have insomnia, so they're not sleeping, or they have a different sleep cycle where they sleep all day and they're up all night, or vice versa. The eating, they don't eat as much. They might only have like one meal a day instead of 2 or 3 meals a day, so they're not eating as much, or they're eating too much. They're having like 7 meals a day, and they're just putting as much in their system to try to hide the void. Pulling away from people and other activities, so they might have gone out more often, but now they don't. They kind of just sit inside more, and they don't want to be with anybody, so they might have came out and played soccer with you as friends around the corner. All of a sudden you haven't seen that friend from around the corner in a little while, so maybe you want to check on it and make sure that nothing happened to him or that he's okay. Another thing is having low or no energy at all, so they just kind of like are a shell of a person. They used to maybe be a very happy-go-lucky person, but now all of a sudden they just don't have any desire to do anything. And this also goes along with feeling numb or feeling nothing matters, so they might not see anything as like important anymore, or they don't have like those feelings they used to for a sport or something that they love, like fishing or golfing or just drawing or even just watching their favorite TV shows. Now they don't want to do any of that stuff anymore, so they just have no energy for that. Having unexplained aches and pains, because this could be due to either the eating or not sleeping as much, so their body's trying to tell them in a way that we need nutrients and we need some rest, so they might get aches and pains that they haven't had before. Such things like that. Feeling hopeless or helpless, so that they don't think anybody can help them, or there's no hope that anybody can help them, so you have to remind them that you're there for them and that you are there to help them and that they can get through this, and that this may just be a little speed bump in their life, but with you, with you around and other friends around and maybe their family, that they can actually see the light on the other side of the tunnel. Smoking, drinking, and using drugs more than usual. This, like I said before, can exacerbate the issues. So they might have gotten these illnesses later on in life, but alcohol has been known to speed up the process a little bit. So if they're starting to smoke a lot and drink a lot and maybe use substances that they wouldn't normally use before, or they are trying new things, this may be a bad sign that they might have some type of mental illness, or they have risk of mental health issues. So you might want to watch out for that. If your friend starts all of a sudden smoking, or they start drinking way more than they usually do, or all of a sudden you find out they're doing any kind of illegal substance, so you might want to warn someone so you can get them the help that they need. Some other things are feeling unusual or confused at times, very forgetful. They're always on edge. They're angry, upset, worried, scared, or just even emotionless. So you might want to watch out for these things, because you don't want to catch them on the bad side of an angry, or you want them to forget about something like maybe taking their medication. So you want to watch out for them and those types of things. Yelling or fighting with family and friends. You don't want to have any violence in your life, so you might watch out if all of a sudden they're, like I said, they might get angry or they might be on edge, and all of a sudden they get very negative towards you, and they might come at you with some kind of object or their fists, and you want to watch out for those certain types of things. So if they start to, all of a sudden you can tell their mood's changing a little bit, you might want to just either leave the situation or just divert the whole conversation in total. They may experience severe mood swings, so this goes along with the last two. They may all of a sudden be in the corner very happy, and then all of a sudden you say one little word and then the whole mood changes and it's very negative feeling. So you just have to watch out for those types of things, or vice versa. Maybe they're angry and then all of a sudden they're happy, so you have to watch out for that. Having persistent thoughts about memories that they can't get out of their heads. So this goes along with people who have some type of trauma in their life, so they can't forget. Not to be morbid or anything, but child abuse victims or sexual assault victims, they might not be able to forget the situations that they were in or the things that they went through, so they constantly see those in their head. So you have to kind of, if they start looking like a little blank face in the corner somewhere just staring off into space, they might be thinking of those things that happened to them. So you might just want to go over and maybe see if you can pull them out of it through talking to them and stuff like that. They might hear voices or believe things that aren't true, so you might see them in the corner talking to themselves, or they just thinking that they think that they heard you say something but you actually didn't say it, and then it causes an issue. And just having no ability to perform daily tasks anymore, like just getting out of bed or even just brushing their teeth, taking showers, things like that. They just have no desire to do those types of things anymore, so you have to kind of show them that they still need to focus on keeping themselves very positive and getting out of bed in the morning on time and taking showers to kind of practice cleanliness and things like that. So it's activity time. So what we're going to do is we're all going to grab a piece of paper and pen, and we're going to write down our answers to the questions that will be asked in the next slide. So we're going to do agree or disagree game. So students will write down a piece of paper, yes, agree or disagree for each answer, and why they chose that answer. So the first question is, depression is the most common mental illness. Agree or disagree? All right, so the next question is a friend the best person to go to with your problems? Agree or disagree? Remember, there are no wrong or right answers, just see what you put. And for question number 3, mental health isn't as big of an issue in the world today. Agree or disagree? Remember to write down why you agree or disagree. Question number 4. People who abuse substances have mental health issues. Agree or disagree? And your reason why you agree or disagree. And lastly, number 5. Can mental health be fatal? Agree or disagree? Okay, so that was all very good. Now we're going to go into our check for understanding pop quiz. Do not worry, class, this is not a graded quiz. I know you all probably just got a little scared face and you're thinking, oh no, he's going to quiz us already on this, we just learned it. But it's just for me to make sure that you knew what was going on and if you were actually paying attention during the presentation. So, question number 1. You're writing this right on the same paper you wrote the agree disagree on. Question number 1 in the blue over here. What is mental health? So remember, write down the definition for what is mental health. All right, now question number 2. How can someone improve their mental health? Write down a few ways. We covered about 6 or 7, so just write down 1 or 2 ways that you can improve your mental health. Okay, now question number 3. What are 2 mental illnesses that were listed on the mental illness slide? Just 2. There was about 8 or 9, so just need 2 of them. And now question number 4. Who would be a reliable person to talk to about mental health? And question number 5. Why is mental health important? And enlist 3 reasons why it is important. Okay, students, that is the end of the class today. I hope everybody learned something about mental health. I hope that you can take this information with you forward in life so that if you ever have anybody who has trouble with mental health issues, or you yourself have come down the road and had to deal with some mental health issues, that you know how to cope with them and what to do, and you know about them now. And would anybody like to share with me what their favorite part of the lesson was today?
My favorite part of the lesson would probably be learning about different ways I can improve my mental health, like exercising or drawing.
Yes, Morgan, that is a good one. The ways that you can improve your mental health with the whole physical activity and drawing and meditation. That was a good, important part of the lesson that people should know going forward, so that if they ever need to deal with things, they know what they need to do to keep a positive mental state. Well, have a great day, class, and see you next time.